Welcome to the Forensic Financialist, where we simplify business and leadership challenges and choose the road that leads to wisdom and excellence. We discuss tough issues facing business and figure out easy-to-implement solutions. Using the rear-view mirror approach, we look in the rear view to move towards a brighter future. Here's your host, Jeff Newkirk.
Welcome to the Forensic Financialist, where we aim to improve your business and help you grow both personally and professionally. I'm your host, Jeff Newkirk. We have an incredibly special treat for you today. I'm speaking with best-selling author Mike Michalowicz. Mike is the author of Profit First, Clockwork, Surge, and The Pumpkin Plan, and his newest release, Fix This Next. By his 35th birthday, Mike had founded and sold two companies, one to private equity and another to a Fortune 500. Today, he is running his third multi-million-dollar venture, Profit First Professionals. Mike is a former small business columnist for the Wall Street Journal and a former business makeover specialist on MSNBC. Over the years, Mike has traveled the globe, speaking with thousands of entrepreneurs, and is here today to share the best of what he has learned. And it is such a treat to have you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
My brother, it's awesome to be here. And Jeff, I got to tell you, I love the name of your show, selfishly, because I was in the forensics industry decades back, but doing computer forensic investigations.
Yeah.
And just love the science of finding facts.
Well, it's about trying to find what is going on with the business and correcting it so we can have a better future outcome. And it takes a little bit of forensics to get there.
It does. It really does. I think traditional small business, the mentality for small business owners is gut instinct. I feel I need to do this. We rush to do all the different urgent things that present themselves, but we don't identify what's the one impactful thing that our business needs from us. And I really do believe that requires us to remove from the emotion, look at the data, evaluate it, and we can then pinpoint what we need to do.
Exactly. And that's pretty much the fix this next, finding out the vital need and using the BHN, the business hierarchy of needs. So yeah, perfect. So to get things started, how did you get into speaking and writing books, and what was the initial motivation for you?
So I found there's an interesting question that floats around that everyone's aware of, but there's a complementary question to it, and that key question that we know of is, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? Right? Because that question is wonderful because it allows us to explore, what do I really want to do in my life? And for me, I remember for the longest time saying, I want to be an author. Oh, it would be so cool to be an author. But the problem with that question is it precludes you from doing it because you need all the money in the world. Meaning, to become an author, Mike, first I have to achieve financial freedom, and then I'll become an author. And
because you got to find time to write the book.
right, exactly, because you don't make money doing it. Well, in my after my second business, there's a business I don't include on my resume conveniently that was a disaster. It was a angel investing firm. I had no clue what I was doing. I just was blowing my own money, and I wiped out all my wealth. I actually lost my house. I lost everything except for my family.
I think you highlighted that in one of your books.
I did. In Profit First, I talk about that. It was a defining moment for me. And in retrospect, I am so grateful for it. When it happened, it was the worst thing ever. I don't wish it upon anyone. I don't want to go through it again. But in retrospect, it challenged my identity. And it presented a new question. The new question was, when I had no money, when I was broke, when you have nothing, what do you want your vocation to be to provide for you? And when I found when the answer is the same as your dream, I want my vocation to be my dream, that's when there's a calling, a must do. And for me, I said, I'm going to be an author, but I'm going to find a way to actually make a living at this. And here's the hack. talk to people that have successfully done it, and the answers and the direction you get is way different than people who haven't tried it at all. Like a lot of people, when I said I'm going to become an author, said, "Oh, you're crazy. No one makes money."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, what's been your experience as an author?" Like, "Oh, I've never done that." So a lot of the naysayers,
classic, right?
The naysayers are hearsayers. But there were some people, and I met Tim Ferriss. He had just launched a book called The 4-Hour Workweek. Yeah. I met him and said, "Hey, I'm an aspiring author. Can you make money doing this?" And he kind of looks around. He's like, "You can become a millionaire as an author." And
you're like, "Thank you."
Okay. And it's interesting. I did some research, and some of the wealthiest people on this planet are authors. J.K. Rowling, if you look at a lot of these fiction books. But a guy like Tim Ferriss, Malcolm Gladwell, extraordinary success through writing. So I followed the recipe that the successful people did, and it became my life's journey.
Awesome. Well, you are an inspiration, no question about it. And I would say that out of all of the books that I've read and then listened to, the audio version, I would say you have to get the book to read it, but you also have to listen to it, because your audio versions, you add so much feeling and emotion, and we can really get a sense of where you're coming from. And it's great.
I wish, Jeff, you were at the studio when I record these things, because I walk in and the producer's totally not ready for me at any time. It's always a new producer. And they're like, "Oh, there's your chair. Here's your book. Start reading." I'm like, "Oh," I'm not trying to be a schmuck, but I don't sit. I have to stand when I read. And they're like, "What? No one stands when you read." And I'm like, I'm going to riff, and we're going to go off script, and I'm going to get pretty animated here. And they're like, "What?" So
that's awesome.
The joy to read the books. I really want people, when they're reading it, to feel like it's me and you. We're at a bar. I got my arm over your shoulder, and we are talking shop, and we're getting fired up, and we're getting this business doing what we want it to do.
Yeah. Mission accomplished. So up to this point, do you have a favorite book? Is there one that really stands out that you look back on, and that is the one?
I have different favorites for different reasons. So Profit First is a favorite in its impact. It's just raw impact. There's hundreds of thousands of companies that are doing Profit First now. And to be able to have that degree of reach, which for my ultimate goal is only scratching the surface, but to have that degree of reach really touches me. Fix This Next is my favorite in regards to it is the starting point for business, is finding what we need to work on. And I love that, because I think it really gets to the point of where to start, not to always rush to all these apparent issues that are in front of us, but to pick the right one. And then perhaps my favorite ever to write was Pumpkin Plan. It was just, Pumpkin Plan was just kind of this little bit edgy. It's still very edgy, fun book. And I think it's 10 to 12 years old now. And I still get emails daily from people who've discovered it and read it. And that really just lights me up on just the joy of writing that book.
That's great. Well, they're all awesome. And, being a Fix This Next certified advisor, I have to say that one sort of spoke to me, but they're all good. And I love them all. So thank you. When I listen to you read the books, an audio version, you can tell that we've talked about this, you're emotional and really have the energy behind it. When did you first realize that what you were writing about was going to resonate with so many people? When did you know that, boy, I really got something here?
So, yeah, I actually remember the moment exactly. It was a phone call. So I wrote a book, The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. That was my first book. It was this irreverent, edgy, sophomoric book, admittedly, but it had an important message. I really believe, I love that book. And I wrote it for college students, male college students. And my thought was, you're leaving college, you're starting a business. And the reason is because when I left college, the first thing I did was start a business. So there must be more people like me. Well, I then started touring colleges, speaking, and trying to sell the book. Basically a door-to-door sales guy, trying to speak and see who'd buy the book in the back of the room, and no one would. Apparently, pizza and beer is a lot more interesting in college than this bizarre book. But a few students would. But the students didn't read the book. what happened was I got a call one day from a mom of a student. She said, my son came home from school. He left this book behind. I saw this weird title and I decided to read it. And she's like, oh my gosh, this book was written for me. And at first I discounted. I was so focused on the college student, I discounted what this woman was saying. But it started happening again. There was a few more emails or different contacts that came in from moms. And here's what I found was this book was albeit irreverent, it was not pandering. It was encouraging, and you've got this. And these women entrepreneurs, many of them were married, said, it's interesting. I've started my business. My kids are now in school, so I'm starting a business. And my spouse is a verbal supporter, but an emotional detractor, meaning that husband or significant other is saying, you've got this, and then saying, but you're taking our vacation money and destroying us. And this book,
it's awesome, but
yeah, this book. So I started speaking. I got my speaking career going by speaking actually to women's groups, women entrepreneurs. And that's where I started, 10, 12, 13 years ago.
Wow, that's awesome. So obviously you didn't think it was going to go that direction, but must have.
No.
What a great success.
And I think there's a key business lesson here. Like, so books are business. It's like any other business. It's a product. It's like if you walk down in the supermarket and you see all the cereal boxes lined up, they're the same thing.
Yep.
And so we need to build and sell this product. Mm-hmm. And just like I think any other business community, cater extremely well to a very specific community, so well that they see you as the definitive source, as the best solution. Dominate that space, and that space will open you to other spaces. I was studying Brian Smith's story. He's the founder of UGG. And when UGG comes into the purview of most people, it's like, oh, UGG is like for teenage girls. No. UGG was made for surfers. In the 70s. He dominated the surfer space. Surfers were wearing these boots. The surfers carried it to other pro-am sports like hockey and skiing. And those communities made it so cool that teenage girls started wearing it and became a $1 billion brand. So
interesting.
That's what I'm trying to, I am trying to do is cater so well to a community, and that community will carry you on their shoulders to other communities.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Thank you. So during the course of your career, has there been any one person or a group of people, sort of your inner circle, that you consider a go-to as your mentor or guide?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it's one person. There's a group of mentors I have, but here's what I found is that I thought early on in my career that I could find the one mentor that represented everything. Great business person, great parent, great husband, great XYZ, and I could learn all this. And I found for me, there's people that have greatness in a category that I aspire to learn from, but not elsewhere, and I was disregarding them. That was a mistake. So now I surround myself with mentors. I have a couple of business mentors, but one guy's name is Barry Kaplan. Really good at partnerships and that element. I have another one, Howard, very good at the transactions, negotiations. I have Nancy, I haven't worked with her recently, but Nancy, who gives me the perspective on how women act in entrepreneurship. And those guys I'm working with have no clue in that space. There's another guy who's just great at parenting and spirituality. And he's who I go to learn that, not the other folks.
Right.
So I surround myself with these experts.
Absolutely. I think it's good to have one go-to if you had that one person,
Sure.
But I do think that people have so many different strengths, and it's important for us to learn from as many as possible and then to glean some of those key strengths from different people just to get a different perspective. And, it helps us to be a little bit more well-rounded and just gets us to the next level too. So, yeah.
No question. I created this thing. I call it the Heavenly Board. At my home office on the wall, I have pictures of people, many deceased now, that had profound impact in a specific area.
And, I love that term, the heavenly board.
The heavenly board, yeah. So, like, for example, George Washington. I have a picture of him on the wall, and below it, he says, and I'm paraphrasing. I found that a task assigned to 3 is never done. Assigned to 2, it's finger pointing. Assigned to 1, it's accomplished. And here's a person
that's profound.
Profound, right? Yeah. And I'm like, and I thought, like, when I realized that when I give it to a committee, it never gets done. I thought, oh my God, that's just my problem. No, this happened back in the 1700s. This has been around for a while. So there's these profound realizations that when I look at those boards, the heavenly board, I just reflect upon, what would George Washington say about this, or some other, Maya Angelou,
Abraham Lincoln. Oh, Maya Angelou, that's a perfect one.
Yeah, amazing. She's amazing.
She really is. Yeah, no question. So let's transition just a bit to current situation going on with the pandemic. And there's really a lot of businesses struggling, and will continue to struggle for a while coming out of this. What do you think will be the most important challenge that they need to address as far as entrepreneurs and business owners go coming out of the pandemic?
So I'm calling, Jeff, the 2020 to be the great reinvention. So 2008 was a great recession.
Yeah,
it's the great reinvention. And
well, that's certainly a better term than the terms I've heard about 2020.
Yeah, and let's talk about returning to the old normal or the new normal. I don't know if I buy into that. What I buy into is the customer's perspective, and we're all customers of stuff. The customer's perspective has shifted. Our expectations have shifted. Therefore, in the vendor capacity, the work we provide, we have to become acutely aware of what the new client perspective and expectation is, and then adjust accordingly. I started flying again, and flying I don't think will ever be the same. 99% the same, but there's different expectations on cleanliness, on just how airports are functioning and so forth.
Oh, and how people behave in airports and on the plane.
And behavior, exactly. Yet when I walk through the airport, most of the businesses are shuttered, and I'm surprised because it represents opportunity. There's new expectations. Like, I was walking through Newark Airport, that's the hub for us, and I was hungry when I got there. There was thousands of passengers, not tens of thousands or whatever it was before. It was clearly depleted. But you couldn't get food. There was these couple like prepackaged sandwiches. Like there's like a sandwich truck coming by, and you can get the kind of the saturated, soggy egg sandwich or tuna. And that was the two choices.
That was made last night. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, ooh, there's opportunity here. Customers aren't going to be able, or desires even, to design the old way we're all packed in together, elbow to elbow. But maybe there's a way to cater to our needs or desires to have higher quality food, but delivered in a safe way. No one's addressed that. That's the opportunity in 2020, is to reinvent around customers' needs. And I'll tell you the real simple solution. Just ask them. Ask them, what do you need now? How can we serve you? What can I change? And I did this myself. I'm not just preaching. I emailed my readership back in March and said, things have changed. What can I do for you now? Like, what can I educate you on? And I was just expecting, a new way to market or some business topics. The number one request was, I've lost my confidence. How do I regain confidence? I'm like, I'm not Anthony Robbins. I don't know that self-help stuff. I'm like, I better learn and modify how to have business confidence. So that's what we started to do. And sure enough, we rolled out a confidence training called the Confidence Course. And it's won a lot of interest and recognition from our readership.
Oh, that's great. And so important, because I can understand why confidence would be hit at this time. Because you don't know what to do, where to go next. There's so much instability. There's so much uncertainty. And when there is that element of unknown, what happens? People get very insecure. They're not confident with what their skill set is, or can't predict what's going to happen in their own business or own life going forward. And it's very unsettling.
Do you remember that book, Who Moved My Cheese?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You bet.
the whole maze got moved.
Oh, no question. Yeah.
Everything's gone. And the two little mice are sitting there going, where the hell's the maze?
Right.
But, in that book, one just keeps on going to the same spot looking for the cheese that's moved, and the other mouse finds a new path.
Yeah.
We're in a who moved the cheese situation right now.
Oh, man, that was a big, like you said, it's more than just a piece of cheese. It's
maze, everything.
Yeah. Awesome. So if you were to give one piece of advice at this point to either somebody that is thinking of starting their own business or in business currently, what would that one piece of advice be?
Well, I would always lean into your passion, your interest, your desire. I think there's actually something even a little bit greater than that. It's your purpose. And I think it's worth investigating. Actually, I'll show you on my wall here, Jeff. I don't know if you knew this. Yeah. That's my life's purpose.
Oh, yeah. You bet.
Yep. I say it regularly, to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. And I have it there because that's why I believe I exist on this planet. And I believe it can be self-given or God-given. Like, I think it's our right to define how we want that. Mm-hmm. But that mission has become a magnet, as opposed to running towards something or running away from something, which is worse. I'm getting dragged towards something. I wake up every morning and go to bed every night saying, I got to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. I got to help entrepreneurs and stop the struggle that entrepreneurs face. And there's this compulsion, like, I don't know if I have enough time on the planet to do this. So there's this constant, like, just go, baby, go. And it's different than hustle and grind. It's not like I got to work harder. I'm thinking, how do I have a bigger impact constantly?
Well, that's how you know that's a passion.
Yes.
Right? Because it's not a grind.
It's not a grind. And listen, I'm not working till midnight every night. I'm home 5 or 6:30. And when I'm coming in this morning to go to work, I love coming to work and I love going home. And I think that's the balance. The thing is, when we start our business, is what is your purpose? I met this gentleman. I'm just thinking about it, gets me a little bit teary. I met him like 5 or 6 years ago, and I did a speech. And afterwards, I was able to meet with some folks there. And he came up to me and said, "Hey, on stage, you mentioned your life's purpose to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty." He's like, "I'm ashamed. I don't have a big purpose." He goes, I do have a purpose. He goes, his wife had passed away recently. He's a single dad. And he says, "My life's purpose is to put food on the table." And he goes, I'm embarrassed. I said, let's not compare purposes here. Like your purpose, if we do, is maybe bigger than mine. Like, that's effing huge.
Yeah, that's a pretty big and important purpose.
Yeah, like that. I'm like, that is really motivating and really significant. And that impacts lives, his children's lives, so deeply.
Right.
I ran, and I can't remember his name. I can barely remember his face, but I remember the story. He came back. This is like a year later. I ran into him and he's like, "Hey, do you remember me?" And I remembered the story. Mm-hmm. He said, "I realized that, particularly for single parents, the most important moment with your children is dinner." He's like, "It's always running and rushing around. We have an hour together every single day for me the next 18 years until they're out of the house," or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And he goes, "So many single parents are missing out on this." So he goes, "I started a business that we provide meals specifically for single parents so they can have time with their children." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's huge."
That is huge.
The purpose didn't change to be present with his children. It simply expanded so we all could be present with our kids. Like, I think
that is a great, great story.
Yeah. I think we all have purpose. I think we just need to investigate it and start digging into that dirt and finding it. Yeah. I also think, I was talking with a psychologist, and I don't remember her name either, but she told me, she goes, there's often 3 elements that drive purpose. She says there's the big T, the small t, and the C. The big T, the letter T, is trauma. She goes, there's a traumatic event that happens that causes such a fundamental shift in that moment that we draw the line in the sand and say that will never happen again to me or anyone else. This will not define me. Mm-hmm. And for this gentleman, it was the passing of his wife. For me, it was when I evaporated everything I had, all my wealth. And I said, I'll never let this happen again. He said, I'll never let it happen again. The small T is like drip trauma. You grow up and you're getting picked on year in, year out as a child from the bullies in the school. And ultimately it builds this welling moment where you're like, damn it, never again.
Right.
And I will not stand for this, or I will redefine what this means and put meaning to it. That's purpose. And the C is childhood dreams. You know, what did we dream of doing? I wanted to be an astronaut. Well, what did that mean to be an astronaut, to be an explorer or whatever? A dream left unfed will simply sit there and grow. In those three things, ultimately, I think, is our purpose.
Oh, that's fantastic. Do you mind if I use that again? The big
Of course I don't mind.
Okay.
Spread the word, brother.
Yeah. Okay. We'll do. That's great stuff. Mike, this has been so great speaking with you. I appreciate you taking the time. I know the listeners got a lot out of what we talked about today. So again, thank you. If folks want to learn more about you and all of your work, what's the best way for them to find out and learn more?
Thank you. Well, I would encourage people to start at fixthisnext.com. In fact, you have a private URL. Maybe we can send people to that one so they can learn from you. And what that is, Jeff, is I think the first step in finding what to do next in your business is to know what your business needs from you, even if you're a brand new startup. So we set up at Fix This Next a eval that you can do for free. It takes maybe 5 minutes. Evaluate your business, and Jeff, I think you may even give a consult around that to give you some context.
Yeah, I've taken the assessment and I provided the evals. It's very simple to go through, and it's very, very important and informative.
Yeah, so I think that's the starting point. So you go to fixthisnext.com, or even better, Jeff, I don't know what your private URL link is at fixthisnext.com, but I encourage people to go there and take the exam. It's free. It'll get you started on doing the next thing the right way.
So if somebody goes to my website, understandablesolutions.com, then they'll be able to get to the Fix This
Free
Next. Yes.
Then that's the place to go, baby.
Yeah. So, that's it. Mike, thank you so much for the time today. And to you, the listeners, thank you for taking time to listen to this podcast. I know there are tens of thousands of podcasts available, so I am especially grateful that you took the time to listen to this one. If you feel compelled to follow me, that would be awesome. I'd be very grateful. And as always, my hope is that you received at least one nugget of useful information today and maybe even got a little inspired. I know you got inspired listening to Mike. To learn more about me and my coaching and consulting, please visit understandablesolutions.com, or you can email me directly at jeff@understandablesolutions.com. Again, thanks so much. Make it a great day and make tomorrow even better. Peace.
You've been listening to The Forensic Financialist, where we simplify business and leadership challenges and choose the road that leads to wisdom and excellence. To learn more about Jeff, visit his website at understandablesolutions.com or email Jeff at jeff@understandablesolutions.com. Mentioning this podcast will get you a complimentary discovery session with Jeff. Until next time.